Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How's it going, Duane?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing good. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Looks like we got a little bit of a lighter group today, but that's great. We can get
It's
more in
just
depth on
me.
some stuff.
Yeah.
Looks like we got Marcelo in the background as well. I'm gonna post our typical itinerary here as more people join in.
Hello, guys.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Very good. Fine. Thank you. And you?
Doing good. Staying busy. Alrighty. Yeah, so this will be cool. We can go over some more in-depth questions on some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. But in general, we're going to go over some of the advanced settings more in depth today because we're getting some questions from some of our community members in the last week about what some of those things meant. So we're going to go over some of those. And then I have a couple diagrams and wireframes to show about how other agencies are finding success with different types of outbound marketing to get in front of new clients and sell it to them. So like always, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to just drop it in the chat and we'll get to it during the QA session here. And since we got a small crew here today, we can keep it casual. If anybody has kind of any questions or kind of anything in general, anytime, please feel free to just kind of interrupt and we can go from there. But yeah, I guess Duane, I mean, seems like you're rocking and rolling. How's everything going with you? Anything that you want to bring up or questions that you have kind of right off the top?
Well, I'm brand new. I started thanks to Drew last Wednesday.
Awesome.
Actually, I had a chat with him on Tuesday, and I'm a member of. I'm sure you're aware of the name Perry Belcher. I'm aware of. I'm in Perry Belcher's mastermind, and
Got it. Okay.
he was telling people that he was going to announce a new chat that he was going to give away for free as part of his mastermind, in addition to the Go High Level white label platform that he gives away. And he's like, it'll work perfectly. And it was either, in my mind, going to be BotPress or Zappy Chat, and it was Zappy Chat. And I get it that the thing works. It works directly with Go High Level, and that to me is about where the advantage ends. And it's free. But as far as white labeling, there is no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had spent the last month or so with Bot Penguin. For whatever reason, I made the decision to go with them instead of you guys. I think primarily it was their pricing. I'll just admit it. I'm a cheap old fart. And the best presentation that they gave was when I was on the phone or on a Zoom call with Rohit, their CEO, and he convinced me this is the way to go. And they had a lifetime plan for like $2,800. I'm like, that's it. I'm going for it. Unlimited chats. That was the peak.
Mm.
And after that, it was just wrestling with one thing after another. And I'll absolutely give you kudos that all along the way, I was telling them, are you guys going to be able to do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? And everything that I was referring to that was the do you do this was using examples of what you guys do. And I kept showing, here's a thing. How about even just having a, Facebook group where people can talk to each other? How about having a Discord or something? We're working on that. How about having a form that you can open up within the widget?
Mm-hmm.
We're working on that. How about, and then when I saw the Chat GPT 4.0 and voice, I'm like, okay, this is absolutely critical. If you guys aren't all over this, I think this is going to change the world of chatbots. Yeah, we're gonna try to move that up on the timeline. Well, nothing literally ever got done. And finally, my wife is like, didn't you tell me that you kept referring to Stammer all the time? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and I'm like, well, honey, we've been together 44 years, and once again, you're burning me. But once again, for the millionth time, you're right. So it's, to me, the stuff that you guys do is excellent, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming aboard. It sounds like you really liked a lot of the white labeling features and kind of that community and kind of more open transparency aspect that we have with our development.
Absolutely. And the thing that I liked was that you publicly had an updated, here's the roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Penguin does have a roadmap. It was last updated, and I'm not making this shit up, in March of 2023.
When they first started.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, this is great. It's good to see that you're really on top of this stuff. And for me, there's an old saying that I've heard a million times. The cheap becomes expensive,
Hmm.
and now I'm wrestling with them for a chargeback, even though they promised to give me a refund. That has been coming just as slowly as any of the updates whatsoever that they were going to make. So we'll
Gotcha.
see how it hashes out. But the thing really that I liked was the fact that, and I know it's a paraphrase on something that I won't say completely, but um, since you guys clearly are internet marketers know what internet marketers like.
Yeah.
And that's exactly another thing that really struck me is that, this is, and I looked at probably 50 different platforms, just hammered through them. And the thing for me that was the number one thing was the white label had to be true white label. Bot Penguin had white label where they just renamed the script to like Easy Chat or something like that. Well, the minute you hit F12 and you look at, what it says Bot Penguin instantly. And I'm like, if I'm the guy on the other end who's being put in charge of, the website for whatever client that, I'm dealing with,
Yep.
the first thing I'd do is look and see who it was. And then I'd get back to the people that asked me to install it. And I'd be like, how much are these guys charging you for this? Because I can get the exact same thing for you
Exactly.
for $5,
Yep.
or free, like Zappy Chat. It's like, okay, I don't want to have to go into a discussion knowing full well that sooner or later the discussion is going to come up. Why are we paying you,
Yeah.
$297 a month versus, just going directly with the source and getting it for free? So all the stars aligned. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
You
So
mentioned you mentioned that you are relatively new to the platform. Have you had any interesting conversations with businesses, or are you still kind of getting things set up?
I'm still getting things set up because
Okay.
the vertical that I want to go after is trade schools.
Okay.
And just from homework that I've done for some other things over the years, that we were in the toner biz forever, and we still have a company in the toner biz, and we grew that from zero to like 166,000 customers in the space of, we went online in 98. And we always thought it'd be nice someday to actually do something where we don't have to ship something, we don't have to have a warehouse, we don't have to have friggin' employees that we have to
Yep.
see every day or bail out of jail, all those good things. And the thing for me was, I always thought, God, all the stuff that we've done to build that business to where it was or where it is, and then where it went down to after the toner industry just basically imploded thanks to Amazon and other companies like that. But I thought, I've done all this stuff that I could do for other companies as a service. We started with live chat back when live chat was a thing.
Hmm.
Back in like 2008, we were paying $500 a month just for their widget. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, been there, done that, been there, done that with geolocation, been there, done that with, AdWords and all that stuff. So the trade schools came on our radar. And the one thing that I found is they literally on most of their web pages don't have any sort of lead magnet. They don't do anything to grab somebody's information. And I'm like, oh my God, the fact that I can do a little form inside of your widget. And although I would like it if it popped up in the middle of the page, something like OptiMonk in WordPress, but even so, the fact that I can get it over on the right and make it appear over there and collect information early on and then keep in touch with them and keep them engaged. And my plan is not to offer and I know I'm drilling on this, taking a lot of other people's time, but not to offer just the chat, because I don't want to be in a position where somebody's going to fight me then for the chat. Somebody might come in at, $40 versus whatever the price I end up charging, 197, 297, whatever for my array. But that way, then I want it to be part of a package that we will name something. And I'm pretty sure I have the name, but I haven't even told my wife yet. She's over in Scotland right now. So
Got it.
it's all going to be part of the same thing, but it's going to be the integral part that keeps the whole thing together.
So those trade schools that you're talking about, the niche that you're going after, are those existing clients or those contacts you have from your past, or
They
how are you
haven't
get?
talked to them ever. And
Okay.
that's
So,
fine with me. I
and
have no problem
how
with that.
how are you planning on getting in front of them?
The thing I'm going to do is basically, I don't know if you've heard of Mario Castelli. He's a guy that was at Perry Belter's AI Bot Summit back in like September of last year. He's a guy that does copywriting in New York.
Hmm.
And he did a customer avatar GPT prompt that had literally like 4,000 characters going into it. And it would spit out, if you gave it a URL, it would spit out the avatar for that business by doing all sorts of correlated, associated homework on that. And I thought, if I go to these companies and say, I'd like to ask you a question, how well do you know your prospective customer? And if they say, well, whatever, if they answer the cold email, because my days of cold calling on the phones are over. But if they answer that, I'll say, here, I'll trade you. Give me your customer avatar right now, and I'll give you our version of your customer avatar. And then after that, let's see if we want to talk. So I'm
So
not going to
cold,
lead with anything about chats. I'm not going to lead with anything about anything related to other than who they are, who they're going after, and then say, if you could give these people the 10 best reasons to become a beautician today and get their information right up front, do you think you'd be talking to more people? And even, I don't know if you're aware, but even to get licensed, now I'm in the state of Florida, to get licensed in the state of Florida to cut hair, you have to attend beauty school, and it's $12,000 to $20,000 to attend beauty school.
so you're going to use cold email, and then you're
Yep.
going to try to get them on a meeting and then close them on the meeting.
Yep. And also one other thing that I'm adding is Perry came up with a newsletter bot, although now not newsletter bot, newsletter platform, but now he's actively also hooking up with Beehive, and I'm sure you've heard of them. But Beehive, the king of the newsletter space. But what I'm going to say is, nobody wakes up in the morning and decides today's the day I'm going to go to plumbing school, or today's the day I'm going to become a beautician. You don't even buy toothpaste that fast anymore. How do you keep in touch with these people who you aren't even getting the names of right now to keep them engaged and keep them excited about becoming a beautician? We'll white label a newsletter that we've created for you with upbeat stories from beauticians around the country.
Exactly. So I'm going to cut you off right there. So
that's fine. That's fine.
I
apologize.
That's what I wanted to get to here. So the reason I was asking these questions for everyone else's benefit is to show and drill in. It doesn't necessarily matter the way that you're going after or trying to acquire new leads. The process of selling them is going to be essentially the same regardless of niche and relative customer type. So this massive list or this massive mind map is going to be available for free. I'll send this out in the Discord, but I've distilled it down into this small section. And this is what I wanted to showcase today. This is kind of what you guys can use. And this is what we're using internally to help us grow Stammer as a company. And because you guys are using essentially a similar version of what we are building, i.e. our product, your product and service, we can kind of look at the other major silos or departments of how you can run in your agency. And a lot of these things you might have thought of these in the past, but I'm hoping that this will give you just a consolidated view of kind of high level. This is kind of what you should start thinking about for your agency. So when we talk about marketing, we're talking about anything that's not necessarily paid, anything that you can do for free that's reliant on your time and your output. And the big thing here is consistency. If you can be consistent over time, this will compound and grow to where you can start to leverage paid ads to work off of the stuff that you're doing with organic and community building, all the content creation stuff that you can do, quote unquote, for free. And when I say for free, I mean pulling out your phone and filming yourself talking about something related to your niche. And if you're asking like, oh, what do I film? Well, here's how I kind of think about my process and how I create content and I film things. If this is the AI agents that we're selling, the content that we want is not necessarily about AI agents directly. Like Duane just mentioned, we're not trying to sell them immediately. We want to get them on a date first before, we ask them, try to get them home.
Go to the parking lot.
Exactly. So the information that we're trying to talk about is going to be related to those things. So in my case, from my point of view, when I'm talking about content, I'm trying to get more people to subscribe to Stammer. So if I work backwards from that, what are some of the core reasons why people are interested in starting with Stammer in the first place? Well, it's financial freedom, starting your agency, trying to escape the 9-to-5, how to use and build AI agents for businesses. These are kind of like core concepts. Now, related to the businesses that agencies might be talking to directly. These could be things like, oh, I'm spending so much on my customer support, or I'm not actively capturing enough leads from my website, or my ad spend ROAS is as it could be because my team is taking an hour to follow up with every contact rather than having it be immediate. These are these problems that you can start to create content around and then provide free value, free game to those businesses where you can, again, start like what Duane just mentioned, collect their information so that way you can start putting them onto an email newsletter list. And this is, we can do this in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways that I've been doing this in addition to email newsletter is through social media generation and DM automation. So the same kind of idea can apply. Make a piece of content that is about free value or free game. And then in the call to action, we're going to ask people, hey, do you want more free value, more free stuff? And then it could be any of these things, guides, resources, mind maps, things like I'm literally showing you right now have been my free value opt-ins in the past, where I'll like make these things and then give them away for free. And that allows me to start creating a list that I can start retargeting. And this is where that next kind of step comes into play. So once you start getting people in impressions, we can now start to engage them a little bit further with more direct targeted offers. So we have our free value opt-ins, like I just mentioned, but we're also going to start introducing low barrier offers. Now, this could be things like, hey, money back guarantee, 100% guarantee, all like low value things where you can show that you are going to be a agency and somebody that will respond to a business and provide useful information. A lot of the times when I'm talking to business owners and they're like, oh yeah, this agency screwed me over, they ghosted me. The barrier to being a good agency, quote unquote, is so low in the sense that you just have to engage and respond and be available when a business is asking you for help. And this is where things can start to increase sales because at some point you will start to get a conversion rate. The more impressions that you get, the more people are going to start visiting your website, visiting your free value offers, seeing and engaging with your content. And this could already be your paid offers that you have. But once you start getting into once you start converting sales, you know that you have what's now known as a funnel. Like, and this is kind of the whole point of what we're trying to get to is get to a point where we can start getting a repetitive process of generating new eyeballs that will then convert without us spending too much time or money trying to convert that, where the whole equation works out in your favor. Spend cumulatively $50 to acquire something, you $200 a month, something like that. The sales aspect can go kind of crazy. And I like, Duane, that you mentioned that cold calling is no longer in your repertoire, but it's good that you mentioned that because cold calling does work if you are willing to do it, basically. And that's basically all it is. Cold emailing is the easier-esque version, but it comes with its own limitations and issues. But the whole goal of sales to start, especially when we're focused on generating eyeballs, is converting them, not necessarily going on top of what you're already doing for marketing. And then finally, the support piece, the whole reason why you're trying to have support in the first place is the customer doesn't end when they pay you the first time. It is all about LTV, lifetime value of your subscriber. It is much easier to keep someone rather than it is to get someone new. And so if you can focus and create these repeatable processes where it allows people to know and allows you to be reachable. And for us, again, Duane, I'm just going to keep referencing you. You mentioned it. We have our public Discord. We have support tickets. We are reachable. I mean, people DM me on Instagram all the time. That's so huge because as an agency, all businesses want is someone that they know they can rely on. That's all they want. And then finally, this is kind of everything that you guys are leveraging Stammer on the white label side for. So you don't necessarily need to worry about developing your own features and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of your own development, because that's what we're here for. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to drop a link to all this in the Discord in a day or two, so keep an eye out for that. There will also be an accompanying video. And then let's just see. If there's any questions you guys have, please put it in the chat. I'm going to quickly go through some of the advanced settings stuff, and hopefully that will also trigger some questions. So advanced settings. When you're inside your dashboard and you want to edit and update one of your AI agents or chatbots inside your dashboard, how do you do that? You can go into your bot, and then you're going to click on the update tab. And then there's a lot of different options, especially if you click the show advanced settings options. And so there's a lot of questions that can kind of come around these different items, but each item has its own description and its own little info box to help you kind of understand what it may be. But in reality, I can kind of explain things a little bit quickly to just help internalize it a little bit more. So this is the name that is for your eyes only. The display name is going to be the one that's shown to users on the front end, on the website, embed, or chat widget, whatever it may be. The initial messages, that's going to be what's shown at the very top right when someone starts a new chat. The conversation starter messages, that's what's going to be shown at the bottom, where a user can click those to have a message be sent automatically without having to type it in. In the pop-up, there's two different options. You can have the whole entire chat widget pop up itself, which will have literally the entire embed will pop up, or you can have just this initial message pop up. And that will show as like a little notification to engage users to click Chatbot to start chatting with it. And you can set the amount of seconds you want that to be delayed on website load. So if you set it to be -1, it means it will be disabled. But if you set it to like 1 or 2 seconds, the web page will load. It's going to wait 1, 2, and then it will show. Base system prompt, we went over that last week. There will be, there's a bunch of videos about that, bunch of new resources as well from ChatGPT and Anthropic as well on how this is now essentially the format for writing prompts using these different sections. XML tags are now coming into play. So those are all going to be in documentation and things. Model version, this is going to be where you choose the different LLM. We recommend GPT-4o, which is going to be the latest and most advanced model. It's also the fastest. Highly recommend you use that one. It's also the cheapest.
Is that why the streaming button is now no longer there?
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
if one of these is enabled, then you no longer need to have or it's not streaming, the typing animation, or whatever it's called. Yeah. Prioritize question and answers. So if you have lots of information in your knowledge base that is specific to Q&A, so this is going to be this section right here. If you're adding individual questions and answers, and this will populate automatically if you're training a better response. So for example, if I was to click train better response and I wanted to update this response to be more accurate, and I click train response, that is now going to be added into the knowledge base section as a Q&A item right here. If I want to prioritize those, which means essentially that the AI is going to take that information as a little bit of a higher priority than the other information in the knowledge base, like links.
May I ask a question regarding that? How good is ChatGPT at figuring out the question is kind of like one that you specified just now should have a certain answer?
It's all based on a semantic search. So if the exact question that the user asks as the query is in the knowledge base somewhere, then that's the chunk of text that the semantic search will return in total, at which point GPT will use that chunk of text to generate the response. 99.99% of times, it will respond exactly with that chunk of text that's right below that user query. Where the 0.01% can differ is honestly where this temperature gauge can be changed. So, and that's kind of a good segue to this. So when you have a 0 temperature, it means it's going to be more analytical. It's not going to be as creative in its responses. So if you have a temperature set to 0 and the user query and there's a corresponding answer in the knowledge base that's exactly matching the user query, there's a very, very high likelihood, like I said, 99.999% chance that it's going to be that exact answer.
Okay.
In the
But on the
scenario,
question side of things,
yeah.
if somebody says, can I really make money selling white label chatbots versus can I sell white label chatbots? You know, how narrow does ChatGPT or your platform, whichever one is actually doing that work, at deciding that that question sounds a lot like this one that they've given me an answer to?
Yeah, that would be based off of, again, based off of the semantic search. So that's something that our platform does, and you can see when you have the debug mode enabled,
Okay.
it will actually show percentage of match or compatibility, basically.
All right. Thank you.
And typically with GPT, we can kind of expect something similar when you're using just native GPT, where it's going to know relative the answer regardless of the individual words, as long as the context of the question or sentence is generally the same.
Okay, thank you.
So we got a question. I'm building an item evaluation using Excel sheet. I will collect 2 to 3 parameters, and then a prompt will do a lookup. So, I assume the knowledge base is a vector base on the side node. There's 2. Great.
I can answer this.
Okay.
So the knowledge base is matching based on a semantic search, right? So it's unlikely to work well if you're putting this structure of data into the knowledge base. What you will need to do is, the only way this will work is if you put that structured data into the prompt in this case, and use probably GPT-4o, because I believe it has the biggest context window. And that's how this will work best. Until we have custom functions out later this summer, this is the best approach to doing what you want to do, putting it into the prompt.
Someone also actually converted theirs to a JSON file and then pasted that into the text side of the knowledge base, and that worked as well.
And keep in mind, that will only work pasting it into the text side if you have something that it can semantically search against, which means match on meaning. So if it's truly just columnar data or JSON or whatever, you know, it's not going to match. It usually will not work well.
Yeah. So one of the differences between what essentially the functionality that it works if it's in yeah.
Interesting.
It's probably getting confused as there's more columns, because it can, yeah. Well, the other thing I like to mention on that is the API for AI assistance, which is the ability to do this data analysis piece, is still in beta by OpenAI. So, and this is the functionality in ChatGPT where you can upload an Excel document and then let to like make graphs and do analytics on that document. That's still in beta from an API point of view. So once that's fully flushed out from OpenAI as an available API for us, that will make it a lot easier for us to actually enable that functionality natively from OpenAI to allow for different use cases like this. Unfortunately, that's just not available yet. And then just to quickly wrap up the stuff on the advanced settings, the message template section this is something that if you want to start playing around with it, it can be kind of fun, but you can also break your bots kind of easily here. This is going to be the question of the query, the user's message that gets sent to the knowledge base to search. And then the results from the knowledge base are right here. Now, you can change and update this to do a lot of different things for different use cases, depending on different automations that you might have set up that are connected to these AI agents. So for example, there's one where you could have it classify queries based off of what they're actually doing. So instead of actually searching for the knowledge base, you can come in here and type in any type of other actions, like classify this query as positive or negative, for example, as a very simple and easy to explain use case. The bot will take this information, and then ChatGPT will see this as, okay, I'm going to take this information and then classify it as a query as positive or negative. You could do this with generating emails. You could do this with a lot of different things. There's not a lot of examples here because, again, a lot of people, you can break it or not, make it not functional. As long as you leave this section as is with the results, then you'll be good. Support email. This is going to be something that you can just add in a support email. And then if there's ever an error or it doesn't, the AI fails, basically, it will show the custom support email for this specific bot. Finally, domains is where you can set a custom domain if you want to embed it only specifically on that page. This is more of a legacy feature that not a lot of people use, but still some of our legacy agencies still use it. So not something for a lot of new agencies to worry about. Streaming is going to be showing the response as quickly as it is generated by the AI, by OpenAI. So if you ever see a response, make sure this is enabled. Showing the data sources. If you have scraped a lot of data from a public website and you have this enabled, if it finds relevant information from any of those pages, it will be shown as a link that the user can click. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have debug mode, and this just shows you more information about what is being sent to OpenAI and its responses, so you can kind of figure out where there might be an issue, if there's a wrong answer being given, or if there's any issues. Having debug mode on will allow you to see what data is actually being sent to and from OpenAI from your knowledge base. And more often than not, this allows us to find where the wrong information in the knowledge base, your website, PDF actually is, to then fix it. So that's that. Is there a way to set a response length so a huge reply doesn't scroll down? Yeah. So in the example that I was creating earlier, in the top, I have an instructions that says your primary goal is to answer questions that the contact might have about Stammer AI. As long as you know the answer, keep answers as short and concise as possible. Having this line in there specifically will help cut down super long responses. Now, this will only go so far as long as the information added into the knowledge base is relatively short. If there is a question with an extremely long answer, for example, if I was to go into QA, and if there was an extremely long like a page of text as an answer, the AI will recognize that as the answer, and it'll be like, there's not much I can do here because you're telling me to give this answer, but also shorten it. So it might give like a half shortened, but not a fully shortened version. So it's a combination of making sure that the data that you add to the knowledge base is relatively short and concise, but also adding that little line in the knowledge base or in the prompt as well.
I appreciate that. Let me say exactly what I was thinking of. I've also started working on doing a chatbot for a city. And one of the questions that I thought of was, tell me what it's like to live in Columbus, Nebraska. And the thing did a nice job of picking up all the information, but it was like 4 screen rolls long.
Mm.
And I thought, man, the likelihood, I know I'm lazy, but the likelihood somebody's going to scroll all the way back up and then scroll all the way back down, see all the. So I thought if there was some way to interrupt it, like, hey, do you want me to keep on going and keep the thread though that was already there? So whatever the answer was, if it could stop and say, you want me to go to the next page now, or you want the answer to continue or something like that? Because it's not truly a question answer thing that I could depend on each time and give a really specific thing. I want it to be as complete as possible. Boy, the city's great. All these things that are available. Here's restaurants and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's an interesting one, because we're taking the response and then sending it back. So there would have to be somewhere of a customization of the prompt, so that way it's not actually sending the full response back in the first place.
Russ, you can mimic that approach by simply telling it in the prompt to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you could
exactly.
Um,
You can say, when you give your answer, give a partial answer and ask the customer if they want to continue or hear more, and then continue with your response. Something like that.
Something like that. And I added something similar to this one, actually, where in an example conversation, I said at the end, is there anything else that you would like to know? Because I'm trying to encourage them to continue the conversation. And at the end of everything, is there anything else you would like to know? So I think you could come up with an interesting kind of way to simulate that.
Okay. I'll have to just play with it and see how bad I can make it look.
So much of this is kind of that playing around aspect of it with prompt engineering and kind of this whole game, new world.
No, it is an unbelievable new world. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's just unfriggin' believable.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. Any last questions as we finish up for today?
A quick question. How soon do you think, and I know this is asking, an OpenAI ChatGPT question, how soon do you think it'll be before they release the voice conversational sort of stuff?
I could argue that Sam would tweet it tonight and it could be out tomorrow, or it's the end of the summer. Like, I have no idea.
Okay.
But one thing I am seeing just on a higher level is AI company in Runway, the text to video, just announced their new Gen 3 text to video model yesterday. It's not available for a few days. What's a few days? Same thing with 4.0. Like, it's available in a few weeks. What's a few weeks? We don't know. Like, I don't know. I think that's going to be a trend that we're going to continue to see. It's kind of like the original hype cycle, like trying to get people on board before it's even real. So
one of the things I'll contribute toward the end, and I apologize for, hogging most of the,
all good
viewer time. One of the things Perry Belcher said that he uses when he talks to people about, he came up with something called PubBot, which really sucked bad. And he said, I admit it sucks bad, but it's something to get you all started. It's free, play with it. But then he decided, I don't want to play that game anymore. But he said, just ask people, is your website alive or is it dead? And people will go, what do you mean? He's like, watch this, hi, and talk to the website. Yeah. And he's like, the minute that you show them, is your website dead? Because dead is as dead as your website's ever going to be from this day forward. And your competition is going to be all over this. So is your website alive or is it dead? Which I'm thinking of using for cold email. I like that. He's a really smart guy. But I like that for a cold email line. Your website appears to be dead. Is your website alive or dead? Do you want your website to be dead or alive? Because right now it's dead.
I'd open that email. Your website's dead. I'd probably open that email.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, one other question. I think this is for Tim, because I think I heard him answer this question before, but I figured because I've been stalking you guys for a while, but I haven't participated. The cities that I'm considering going after as well, just for a helpful, person that actually speaks English, who knows the depth of information that's available on the city website. Most of them use, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but like 12,000 of them, if you use Built With says 12,000 of them use this particular platform. And I think it's called Civic Plus, if I remember correctly. They force people in the lower right-hand corner to have two widgets. One is an accessibility, ADA widget. And also, do you want this translated into, whatever language? So the spot that the icon for Stammer goes into right now is right in that space. I asked Drew the same question. He said, I definitely know it's on the roadmap to be able to position that where you want it. He said, you'll have to do something with, somebody like on Fiverr, which I have already, to do other stuff, to just adjust a script, around your script to move it up or down or wherever I want it to be. But is that something that is pending?
Where would you put it?
Well, here's the thing. It's in their stuff is stuck in the lower right-hand corner. So even, just as an example, if it could be, 20 pixels up on the, vertical, that would work. But right now, when I did an example for somebody, it just sat right on top of where that widget was. And I figured, who's going to win that fight is the fact that Civic Plus already allows people to put widgets on their site when they could just as easily say, hey, you're already paying us $10,000, $20,000 a year for something. We'll come out with our own chat widget, and their chat widgets right now just blow bad. So I'm thinking, if they're allowing you to put a widget in there, I don't want to be the guy that comes in and then mungs up the works on something that a city is paying big money for, only to have Civic Plus go, you know what, that's not going to fly. So even if it was,
are their widgets always there? Like once you click OK, it's still there?
Yeah, because it's stupid Google widgets. It's like ADA compatible, stuff. And then it's also Google Translate stuff. So yeah.
We're working on custom CSS, I believe, capabilities in the chat widget. And then that could solve this problem. But and that's the first star. And then we would probably later allow it to be configurable through a user interface of some kind.
Yeah, the first iteration of that would be pretty easy because it will just show you the padding or the margin, and you could just adjust that number in the code before you paste it. Yeah.
All right, cool. And it's not a big thing right now because this is the secondary market that I'm considering going after. So it was just a question, though. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Cool. All righty. Well, thanks everyone for joining. This was a great meeting, and we will talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.